Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com, dwyervip.com. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. Now, old-timers remember how ridiculous the mood was when Mike Tyson ruled the roost. You want to know what Mike Tyson felt like? Mike Tyson felt like Anthony Joshua does right now. You have the kind of idiotic line that you had back in the Tyson era going off on this fight against Dominic Breazeale, right? The line can be found on the over-under, right? Understand that if this fight makes it past the halfway mark of the fourth round, right, and you take the over 3.5 rounds, right, the halfway mark of the fourth round, the payoff is a Mike Tyson-esque plus 280. In other words, as you watch this fight, if Joshua doesn't break down this unbeaten heavyweight opponent, right, who has fought Fred Cassie, who has fought Amir Mansour, right, guys who are hard to get out of there, right? Mansour, one of the bigger punchers in the heavyweight division, right? Understand, Dominic Breazeale is 17-0. He's not a young pup. He's 30 years old. This is a guy who's never been stopped. He's a legitimate heavyweight contender. And you're telling me that a guy who has never been stopped in the first 4 rounds of a fight, if he can just make it to the halfway point of the 4th round, the casino's going to give me a plus 280. A plus 280. Well, doggone, sign me up. That's the bet I'm recommending here. I'll agree, I don't see this fight going the distance. Somebody is going to get KO'd. I just don't believe anyone is going to get stopped in the first 3.5 rounds, right? Didn't Dillian Whyte go longer than this against Anthony Joshua? Doesn't Joshua here have to worry about Breazeale's power, right? Breazeale has 15 KOs in 17 fights. Understand, he gets dropped by Amir Mansour. There's no question about it. He gets dropped. He's badly hurt. It's not a slip. But then he gets off the canvas and, folks, he breaks Mansour's jaw. The way that fight ends is Mansour's corner decides, hey, dude, it's not worth it. Let's live for another day. Right? Anthony Joshua hasn't faced that level of adversity in the ring. He's not going to be able to come in, run across the ring, and think there's no bullets coming back at him. Right? Breazeale, in fact, is front foot heavy. He's going to be proactive. He's a lead puncher. He's going to be keeping Joshua busy. Now, unlike Mike Tyson, right, Joshua isn't a stalker in the ring, right? He doesn't come find you as quickly as Mike Tyson did, right? I understand the low over-unders in Tyson fights. With Joshua, while I know Joshua can hit statues, right? Charles Martin standing right in front of him, right? Should have worn a sign saying, hit me please with the right hand, right? While Joshua can hit statues, or while he can hit guys who for some reason decide, hey, I'm Kevin Johnson, but I'm not going to throw any punches, right? Come find me in the ring. I wonder what happens when Joshua actually lifts the level of his opposition. In fact, we know what happens, right? Dillian Whyte looked good early until he throws out his shoulder, right? Dillian Whyte hangs around. Understand, you would have cashed this plus 280 well before the end of that fight because you earned this plus 280 the minute the fight makes it past the halfway mark of the fourth round. Right? So, it's not so much that I'm in love with the underdog. Rather, it's more a matter of Anthony Joshua not looking that active to me. Dominic Breazeale being the more active fighter. Breazeale having survived serious adversity in fights. Showing me that if he hits the canvas, he's not going to look at the ref and hear the ref say 8, 9, 10 and decide, this is how I'm going to end a heavyweight championship fight, just looking at the ref confused. That's not this personality type. Right? He's going to get off the canvas. How do I know that? He has gotten off the canvas. Also, I know this fight is at 0-2. Breazeale fought Mansour at Staples. In other words, he's been to big, rough venues to fight. He's not going to walk in and be one of these young pups looking at the building and saying, man, this arena has so many seats. He's not going to leave his dressing room, look around, and then think, wow, so many people are here. And not realize that he's in against a heavy puncher trying to defend his title. Let me say this too. And I know it's jarring to folks sometimes when I'm on here and I'm taking underdogs, or I'm giving the underdog some of the benefit of the doubt. Right? Let's go back to the Tyson era. Let's bring our calculators with us. Right? We should. Because when you walk in a casino and you look around, you walk in that sports book and you see that high definition TV. In fact, you see several. Right? And you see that scantily clad waitress and, she's getting paid by the casino. Right? You see the gold railing and all that other stuff. You need to realize that, hey, you're really the one paying the bills, aren't you? That they're taking money from gamblers and they're building the casino. Right? They're expanding the business on your back. Right? The casino, your friendly neighborhood casino, is actually the enemy here. We're trying to beat the casino. Well, understand the way odds work. Venture capitalists will get this right away. If you're in the music industry, you understand this. Mike Tyson, dominant champion. He would fight. He was usually the favorite, as you could imagine. In his heyday. We'll go back to before he goes to prison. Right? On the rape allegation. Right? Tyson, dominant champion. Right? If you took the Mike Tyson part of the play, you had to pay what? Minus 300, minus 400, minus 1,000, minus 2,000. In other words, you had to bet more money than you were getting back in winnings. Right? You were taking the favorite. Now, you know that betting strategy is not sustainable long term. You understand that the winning side of Mike Tyson's career, up until he takes a sabbatical, right, at 41-1, a sabbatical. The winning side was actually betting the unders, not the unders. It was taking his opponent, right? If you were betting $100 for each Tyson match, right, you made more. Betting $100 on each Tyson match on the underdog, right? Think about it. Buster Douglas was a 42-1 underdog. 42-1. Right? So those people laying, betting 100 to win $10, betting 100 to win $5, understand they ended up with far less money than people on the other side of the play who hit on Buster Douglas. Now the public really believes in Anthony Joshua. Right? It believes in Anthony Joshua on a level I'm not sure it ever believed in Vladimir Klitschko. A long-term proven champion. Right? I don't recall a Vitaly Klitschko fight where I'm seeing an over 3.5 rounds and the casino's not even giving you back even money. They're giving you back 2.8 times your money plus what you've bet. Right? I don't think Lennox Lewis, legitimate fighter, proven fighter, right? Great champion, just like Vitaly. I don't think Lennox Lewis got odds like this, right? Over under of 3.5 rounds against an unbeaten guy. Does Anthony Joshua have substantially more experience than Dominic Breazeale? Right? So, I like the Breazeale, well, put it this way. I believe this fight makes it to the latter part of the 4th round. Right? If it does, folks, I'm already going to be in the penthouse. Right? The bet I'm recommending here, and this is just the way I see it. This is my read. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. This is gambling. Trust me, I know risk is involved. But the bet I'm recommending is the over 3.5 rounds at plus 280. Joshua, he's good. Hasn't been tested. That Charles Martin fight was an embarrassment. Right? Joshua hits him with a straight right hand. Johnson goes down. Johnson gets back up. You mean to tell me that Anthony Joshua is able to drill him with the exact same punch just moments later? Right? Let me say, too, that Charles Martin, for his big record, really hadn't been in the limelight that long himself. I don't see the body of work by Anthony Joshua that justifies this spread. Let's back away even more. Guys like Saul Alvarez, right? Proven over time. People here know I think certain fighters would beat Saul Alvarez. Okay, fair. But I will say this. We've seen Saul Alvarez against countless fighters, right? Not just Miguel Cotto, not just Erislandy Lara, not just James Kirkland, not just Floyd Mayweather, right? We've seen Canelo, Amir Khan, we've seen Canelo in big fight after big fight. Canelo has one of the hardest punches in boxing, right? He can bang, folks. Just ask Amir Khan. One punch knockout power, right? When's the last time you saw a plus 280 for the over 3.5 rounds in a Saul Alvarez fight? Right? Think about it. Right? Even by big punch standards, even by big punchers with experience in big fights standards, this line's ridiculous. Right? So, casino, I'll bite. I'll be on the plus 280 side of the play. I like the over 3.5 rounds at plus 280. Let me say this too, and I don't say this lightly. I've lived through an era like this, the Mike Tyson era. Right? If Joshua lands early and covers this ridiculous line, you could imagine how even more ridiculous the next over-under is going to be in an Anthony Joshua fight. It's going to be crazy, folks. Right? So, whether we win this bet or lose this bet, I want you to remember the word bubble. Right? Bubble. And I need for you to keep an eye on this guy's career, because sooner or later, the bubble is going to pop. Right? He's fighting dangerous, worthy opponents. right? In this case, 17-0 with 15 KOs, right? Look at what Fred Cassie did to Chris Arreola, who's Deontay Wilder's. Put it this way. Look at what Fred Cassie did to Chris Arreola, who's Deontay Wilder's next opponent, right? Fought to a draw. And compare and contrast that fight to the Dominic Breazeale fight against Fred Cassie. Right? Breazeale's been in some awkward, tough fights. Cassie, by the way, is the same person who just lost to Yugi Fury, right? But that fight was stopped prematurely. And again, in that fight, Cassie's not in danger of being stopped. Right? Breazeale has been in the ring with tough people. Look at Amir Manzoor's fight against Steve Cunningham. Right? Cunningham had to get off the canvas, just like Breazeale did, to beat Manzoor. The water at heavyweight is deep. You understand there are a lot of guys out there who are very dangerous who just haven't broken through. Right? Like Amir Manzoor. Right? The fact that Breazeale has already gone more than 3.5 rounds against Amir Manzoor, who I'm telling you is one of the hardest punches in the heavyweight division. Right? Breazeale has been in against guys with cannons. Right? And the fact that Anthony Joshua, we don't know that much about him. Right? I've done several videos at Anthony Joshua fights. Folks, I don't know a lot about him. And I'm here online making videos about the guy. Right? He steps up in class against Dylan White, and guess what? That fight goes several rounds. Right? Understand, if Breazeale is able to keep Joshua on his back foot, and that's a question, isn't it? Does Joshua have a back foot? Right, that's a big question. If Breazeale gets Joshua on his back foot and starts landing big punches, like the punch that broke Amir Manzoor's jaw, how do we know it's not going to be Joshua eventually hitting the canvas? None of us even have a clue on his stamina late in 12-rounders, right? We don't. He hasn't been there. So, sign me up for the plus 280. I'll provide liquidity for the betting market, right? Everyone apparently is on the Joshua inside of 3.5 rounds bet, right? I'm going to pivot here. I'm going to be on the other side of that play. I think this goes a few rounds. I like the over 3.5 rounds at plus 280. As I've said, I believe in boxing. At times, bets make themselves. Right? If you're sitting there in a casino and you hear, hey, you know, a plus 280 on an over 3.5 round play, you know, I think you need to get up and you need to go make the bet, because you know Sonny Liston's dead, folks. He's not fighting. Right? I mean, I don't know what can be said. This line's ridiculous. I think you need to take advantage of it. That's how I see it. Of course, if Joshua comes out and does what he did against Charles Martin, I'll be here licking my wounds in the post-fight interview. No shame in my game, right? I will have been a donor to the Casino University, right? Maybe they'll put a stone up and say, donated by Richard Dwyer. Maybe the next gold rail you see in a sports book will be subsidized by me. Right? But I suspect it's going to be a little bit different. Right? I think the crowd's going to be into it and stuff like that, because they will have been accustomed to seeing Joshua beat lesser fighters. Right? As he starts now this stage of his boxing career, where he's stepping up in class against real fighters, his fights are going to go several rounds. Let me say this too. I've even heard people talking about Joshua against Tyson Fury. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding? Come on. That's a mismatch. Right? I don't care what belt Joshua's wearing around his waist. Right? There's a difference between a guy who had to beat Vladimir Klitschko to get the title, right? A guy who on the way there fought Steve Cunningham, right, fought Derek Chisora, right? A guy who has been pushed to the later rounds, where Tyson Fury in round 9, he's still alert. He still has stamina. Round 10, he's still alert. He still has stamina, right? And this guy, I don't mean to diss Joshua. All I mean to point out is when the lines in his fight start to eclipse the kind of odds and lines that you're seeing in Saul Alvarez fights, right? Sergey Kovalev fights. I mean, Joshua's not the only guy in boxing with a big punch, folks. Then you need to say to yourself, well, wait a moment. This is a little bit out of line. How do I know that this inexperienced new guy, right, is Sonny Liston? Is young George Foreman? You don't, do you? You know where I stand on this one. Let me hear where you stand. I hope you leave your comments in the comment section to this video, and if you feel that my math is off, that by taking Tyson up until he went to prison, we're talking about Prime Tyson, at $100 a pop per, boxing match, that you would have ended up ahead of the people betting $100 just as a matter of course on Tyson's opponents. I hope you leave that information in the comment section to this video. Thanks for stopping by.